Hello peeps and welcome back to Modded Minecraft with Nightdagger, episode 4. So, as I said last episode, I went ahead and did a little bit of cleanup around here. I also cleaned up out there a little bit, but we'll get to that in a little while. I did some exploring off camera as well, and a little bit of mining. The boring stuff that you guys don't really need to see. And I found something very, very interesting out that way. You can actually kind of see the highlight come up. About 600 meters out that way, I found a village. And I also found something else that wasn't quite so nice a surprise. But let's go out there and start the episode out by taking a look and seeing what we can find in the village and making nice or not so nice with the villagers depending on what's there. The village is, unfortunately, across a stretch of open ocean. So, it's not terribly far away, which is good. But it's far enough that, it's going to be inconvenient to head there and back all the time. So I definitely want to make like one more trip over there and then kind of forget it exists until I have a way to bring the villagers back. Or until I have a way to get there faster. I don't want to be making this trip all the time, Oh, that's a long way down there if we're not careful. So let's be careful. Alright, let's go ahead and make ourselves a boat. Which means we'll need a crafting table, which I'm just going to leave sitting here on the edge of the island. And we'll need a couple of planks of wood. Make a boat. Boat, get. And away we go. Now, you're going to see the not so nice thing, probably, as we go past some of this stuff. Apparently I actually hadn't been close enough to that to highlight it out, so I might have to go over there and check that out a little bit later. But, as we're sailing out this way, if you guys keep an eye out over this way, as we get a little bit closer, you're going to notice what I've found. Yeah, there's a tainted biome there. And that's a skeleton who wants to shoot my ass. Yeah, there is a taint biome right there. Thankfully, it is close enough to where I'm going to be building that it should never really be an issue. Oh, I hate getting off of boats. Alright. Really? So it whatever. It's fine. Alright. So, in this village, we have a railcraft hut that has some tracks, a buffer stop, a hobbyist steam engine, which we're going to take, a rolling machine, which we're going to take, and what all is in here? Magnifying glass, coal coke, a minecart, some sexy engineer overhauls. Oh yeah, we're going to take those for sure. Alright, what else do we got? This looks like just a regular old hut. Nothing of interest in there. This is also just a regular old hut, although this one has a second story. Sometimes there's cool stuff on the second story. That's just a regular old hut. So's that. What else we got? We got fields. They're growing corn. Okay, well, we'll take some corn. Growing beans, coffee, and onions. So we're going to take one each of those so that we'll have the seeds. We're not going to be dicks about it. In here, we've got a piston, which we're going to take. Nothing real interesting here. Patterns? No. No full guard pattern anyway. In the crafting station, still nothing interesting. Yeah, nothing in the part builder. This is just a church, it looks like. Nothing particularly interesting here. Emerald for glowstone, that's cool. Strawberries for emeralds? Maybe. Might take him up on that. That's nothing in particular. This is, oh, hello. This is free books, is what this is. Free books. Kind of upset that there's no miscraft thing here. That's, oh hey. Oh hey. Lots of knowledge fragments. A little bit of thaumium. Anything on the top floor? No? Damn. Still, that's a pretty good haul. Alright. Oh, and we have a smeltery out here. And we have more free books. $42 free books and some free smeltery blocks. Can't beat this. Now, of course, for some reason, their smelteries don't include tanks or smeltery controllers or drains, so their smelteries aren't actually usable, but these bricks can be used to make your own smeltery. And that's actually something I was going to do this episode anyway, so this is actually a benefit to us. Yep, this episode I want to get started with some Tinker's Construct stuff. I want to at least get a basic smeltery up because I need a method to ore double. And while I do have enough Certus quartz now to make a grindstone, there's very little point to making a grindstone when you can just make a smeltery and batch process ores. The grindstone can only process one ore at a time, and it's a very manual thing. Whereas the smeltery, you can toss a bunch of them in, and as long as those ores won't alloy with each other, you can come back and basically pick it up at your leisure. So, that's definitely something I want to take advantage of. Hello? Gold coins for diamonds? Oh, that reminds me. Another thing that I found while I was poking around through the taint biome out there is I found... Let's start heading back because it's a little afternoon. I want to try and make it back before dark if I can. We're going to have to build another crafting table. We're going to drop that there, make ourselves a boat, and sail on home. But I found one of those great wood trees that is infested by spiders and broke the cave spider spawner out of it and got the loots. So I've got a few bits of loots to show you guys when I get back to the base. I just noticed that your hunger disappears while you're on a boat. I wonder if that means you actually can't starve while you're on a boat. There's an aura node there. Okay, it's going to be dark by the time we get back home, so probably should have our sword ready just to fight off any nasties that get in our way. We're going to stop and collect this aluminum gravel ore, though. Extra aluminum does not hurt. Alright, I should be just about inside of my base. Just on the other side of this ridge, I think. We can see it out there. Hunger is very quickly becoming a concern, as are creepers. Damn it. I need to light this if I'm going to stay here much longer. No, no, no. Alright. Now that they are taken care of, we'll come in here, sleep through the nights, and I will show you guys what I found. Let's put some of this stuff away first. We're going to keep some of this stuff on us, like these smeltery bricks, but we can get rid of most of the rest of this. We're going to keep the shovel. We're going to need him shortly. Alright, while I was out, I found a pair of steel boots, which is amazing. I found some unknown dimlets. Now, I have absolutely no idea what those do. It's part of RF tools. I haven't messed with that before, so we'll have to check that out at some point. I got an uncommon treasure, and I got beef Wellington, which, if you guys are hungry, beef Wellington will fix what ails you. It takes so long to eat these things, but look at that saturation. Full hunger, full saturation. We're good for a while. Okay, the treasure was a golden apple, 14 coins, and an ender pearl. That's awesome. We'll put that ender pearl with the other one that I got while I was fighting. And we will show you guys the basics of Tinker's Construct. So, you're going to need some gravel, you're going to need some sand, and you're going to need some clay. If you combine in a crafting table a piece of sand, a piece of gravel, and a piece of clay, you get 2 grout. Alternatively, a block of clay, which is 4 pieces, 4 sand, and 4 gravel, shapeless, gets you 8 grout if you want to save a little bit of time. And grout, when cooked up in a smeltery, will give you seared bricks, which can be used to make these seared bricks by making it a 4x4. To save a little bit of time, I've already gone ahead and made up 4 stacks of these seared bricks. I've also gone ahead and made a bunch of glass. So, every smeltery has to have a smeltery controller, which is made just like that. A smeltery tank, which is not made using those, but is made like this. At least 1 seared drain. I am actually going to make 2. and at least one faucet to get started. I'm also going to make 2. The faucets aren't strictly necessary, but they will be for the first little bit anyway. The rest of this I'm going to turn into some glass. We're going to get 7 pieces of seared glass. Actually, let's round it up and make it just a straight 8 of seared glass. And the rest of these bricks we are going to turn into plain old seared bricks, just like this. Put those away for later, and then I also want to save at least 3 of these to make something later on. Okay? Now, let's head out and figure out where we're going to put our smeltery. In the early game, since I haven't actually started establishing a base yet, I'm just going to put my smeltery right out here. I'm just going to park it in the ground, probably right here. We're going to start out with a 5x5 smeltery. So, this will give us the base for the smeltery. And then what we're going to do here is we're just going to fill in dirt like that. Around the edges, we need smeltery bricks. And then somewhere on here we need the tank, which I'm going to put the tank actually right here. Tank goes there, and we need a smeltery controller somewhere. I'm going to put the smeltery controller in the middle on this side. You can see right now it says invalid structure, but if we add a couple more bricks, now we have an empty smeltery. You know what, I actually don't want the controller there. I think I actually want the controller in the middle of this side. Because this side is where I want to do my actual pouring and stuff from. So this is where I want my glass. We're just going to go 4 high for the moment because I don't have enough bricks to go much higher than that. And we're not going to need a huge smeltery in the early game anyway. There we go. Now, I need a way to get molten metals out. That is where the drains come in. We're going to break to each side of this, and we're going to install the drains. On each drain, we're going to put a seared faucet. Underneath one, we're going to put a casting table. Underneath the other, we're going to put a casting basin. No. Basin. For getting blocks out. Alright. Now, we need a way to fuel the smeltery, which is going to mean lava. Well, just so happens, we found some lava down there, didn't we? So we're going to head down. One of these days I am actually going to put stairs in here, but for right now I'm not going to worry too much about it. But we did indeed find lava down here. So we'll come down here and we'll just dip up a bucket. Head back up. And then, if you guys will notice, when I created the smeltery controller, I actually got a new book added into my inventory. That book's title is Mighty Smelting, which basically gives you everything you need to know about the smeltery. We're going to take a look at that book as soon as we put our lava in the tank. There's lava in the tank, the smeltery is ready to operate, and we're going to take a look at Mighty Smelting. Learning to tinker. Alright, so the biggest thing we need to look at here is the alloys. Bronze, made from 3 copper to 1 part tin. Aluminum brass is 3 aluminum, 1 copper. Manulian is a later game. Same with alumite, we're not going to get started with that quite yet. And pig iron, which is iron, blood, and emerald. Now, the big one we're going to deal with right now is aluminum brass. Aluminum brass is used to cast tool molds, which we're definitely going to need. Let's come over here and just pull out all of our ores. And put the extra crap that we don't need away. Probably keep him. Then in here I had a crap load of ore. Now bear in mind that there are alloys that are not mentioned in the book. That's something you have to be kind of careful of. For example, gold and silver will make electrum. Even though it's not mentioned in the book, the smeltery will still do it. So you don't want to put gold and silver in at the same time unless you're planning on making electrum. If you do, if you don't want electrum and you put that in, you've got an unpleasant surprise coming. We're actually going to need one of these seared bricks. We will go ahead and interface with the smeltery controller, which we put over here. And we're going to add 3 parts aluminum, so a total of 6 at gravel, to 2 parts copper. So 6 to 2 is 3 to 1. Once these are finished melting, we should get aluminum brass out of that. And this seared brick, we're going to put on this casting table. Because we need a way to actually pour ingots out of the smeltery. And right now, we don't have that. We need to make molds for the parts that we are going to need. And, well, just so happens that a seared brick is the same shape as an ingot, isn't it? Another thing we're going to need is a little bit of cobblestone. And here in the part builder, we're going to take the paper out and we're going to put in cobblestone. We're going to take a cobblestone or a stone binding, a stone shovel head, a stone pickaxe head, a stone axe head, and then in the stencil table we're going to need a couple more stencils. We're going to need the tool rod pattern, which we're going to get a stone tool rod. If we come back out to the smeltery, we should see that in the smeltery we now have molten aluminum brass, 16 ingots worth. We pour 1 ingot of that over the casting table. Now we have an ingot mold, so we can pour out ingots. But this thing is good for casting more than ingots. Let's cast a pickaxe head. And then we'll just throw it away, because we don't really want it. We'll cast a tool rod. The binding axe head. And shovel head. Alright, we'll get rid of those. And how many ingots do we have left? 10. So, we will put our ingot cast back on there. We'll pour out 1 block and 1 ingot. That is going to give us a block of aluminum brass, which will break down into ingots, and we've got 10 ingots if we have other tool parts that we want to cast, which we will at some point. I'm actually going to move this controller. I don't like it here. I'm going to move the controller over to this corner. Now, if you do what I just did, make sure that your smeltery is empty when you do it, because if you have any metals in there, you can break any other blocks on here, and you should be safe. There are 2 blocks that you cannot break, or it will lose everything that you have done with it. The smeltery controller I know for sure is 1. I think the center block of the inside is the same thing, or maybe that's Railcraft's tanks, I don't know. But definitely don't break the smeltery controller if there's anything in the smeltery, or you will lose anything that's melted in there. Sometimes that can be a little beneficial if you get something in there that you really don't want, but usually you're not going to want to break it unless it's empty. Anyway, for now, let's go ahead and smelt up a crap load of iron. And take a look at that. We actually still have room in here. So we're also going to smelt up all of our... Let's see, what do we want to smelt? Let's go ahead and smelt up all of our gold while we're at it. And that's going to pretty much fill us up. I don't want to smelt the ferrous, because if I smelt the ferrous, it's going to mix with the iron and we're going to get invar. That's not necessarily a bad thing. We're going to want some invar, but I want to be able to control the amount that I'm getting, which I can't do if I just toss everything in there now. 38 ingots, 60 ingots of gold, and 128 ingots of iron. Holy crap, guys. We are rolling in this now. You know what, I actually do want to get a couple of pieces of invar right away. So we're going to toss 2 ferrous ore in there. That 2 ferrous ore is going to melt into 4 ingots, and it's going to alloy with 8 of our iron ingots to give us 12 ingots of ferrous. We're also going to go ahead and dump our lead in here because lead won't alloy with anything that we've got. And we're going to dump the rest of our aluminum in here because aluminum won't alloy. And then while we're at it, we can also toss our tin in because tin isn't going to alloy with anything in there. Now copper will alloy with the tin, silver will alloy with the gold, and ferrous will alloy with the iron. So we can't toss those in yet. But what we've got is good. We had 12 ingots, I'm pouring out 9, so there's 10, 11, and 12 of you. We're going to go ahead and break you down, so that we can keep track of how much we actually have. We don't want to be storing things in blocks quite yet. I've got 30 ingots of lead. Let's go ahead and pour the gold out first so that I can melt my silver. We can pour out 6 ingots because 9 times 6 is 54, which leaves us a leftover of 6. And then if I can get the parts to do it, I'm going to show you guys a way to early game automate your smelteries. That's part of the reason why I wanted to get the lead alloying, or lead melting down. Because you definitely don't want to try doing this until you have Invar. That's why I wanted some Invar and why I definitely wanted some lead. We're going to get this gold out first because I think I might need the gold for something. I know I'm going to need some iron, which I've got some, but we'll want to pour out at least another block of that. Okay, this should be our last block of gold. So we'll make sure that our iron, actually we're going to make sure that our lead comes out next. We're only going to need to pour 1 ingot of lead. So we'll pour that ingot of lead, we'll take the gold out, collect the lead, now we'll put the iron back out, we'll pour another block of that, and in the meantime, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do a little bit of crafting. We're going to craft a fluid duct. Now, there's a couple of different types of fluid ducts now. There's temperate fluid ducts, hardened fluid ducts, and flux-plated fluid ducts, as well as super laminar fluid ducts, which we're not going to even get into right now. The two we need to be concerned with early game are temperate and hardened. Temperate fluid ducts are made with copper and glass, or copper and lead, if you don't mind them being opaque. Hardened fluid ducts are made with blast glass, or hardened aluminum glass, or hardened glass from thermal expansion, and Invar, or if you don't mind it being opaque, you can use lead. That's why I wanted the piece of lead. We definitely want the hardened fluid ducts, because if you use a temperate fluid duct and you try to pump something hot through it, it will self-destruct. I don't know if it does it violently or not. I've never tried it. I don't care to find out. We're also going to need a servo. We're going to use a hardened servo because we don't have the stuff to make better servos yet. For this we just need glass, Invar, iron nuggets, and redstone. That's easy enough. We're going to take 1 ingot of iron and break it down into nuggets. And we're going to make ourselves a hardened servo. We're actually going to get 2 for the price, so that's good. We're also going to need a couple of chests, 3 total. And we're going to need, no, I don't want to play Counter-Strike. We're going to need this other thing of iron, which we're going to break down. We're going to come up here and sleep through the night real quick so that we don't have mobs bothering us while we're working. And we're going to craft 2 hoppers. And now we're going to come down here and we're going to rework this just a little bit. I'm going to break that, pick this up, and pick this up. We're going to go a hardened fluid duct off of there. That is going to lead into our casting basin. Right? Casting basin is going to have, actually yeah, we're going to do it this way. Casting basin, underneath it, is going to have a chest right here, and then directly under the casting basin is going to be a hopper. Also, on the other side of the chest is going to be another hopper, with a casting table on top of it, and an ingot cast in there. In between the two is going to be a hardened fluid duct. And then attached to here, we're going to have a servo and a servo. Now we just need a couple of levers. And one more thing we're going to want to grab is this other casting table, because we're actually going to leave the seared faucet on the other drain. We're going to put that casting table there, and on that we're just going to go ahead and leave our casts. Directly above this we're going to put a lever, and then on the ground there we're going to put another lever. What does this do for us? Well, you can use these fluid ducts to pump out of the smeltery. And as you can see right now we've got 100 ingots of iron in there. Let's switch over to the aluminum because we're starting to get, or we'll switch to the lead because it's not a direct multiple of 9 and we're starting to get close to the end of the episode, so I want to kind of wrap up and show you guys what this does. If we flip this lever now, it's going to start pumping that lead out. And it's going to pump the lead into the casting basin until it gets a full 9 ingots. Alright? And it's going to pump out. The blocks are going to go into the chest here, and it's just going to continue pumping. But now what happens when it runs out of lead? Well, it's only got 2 ingots of lead left, so it pumped those 2 ingots of lead into the smeltery, and then it moved on to the next metal. That metal, which is iron, is now backed up into this fluid duct, right? There's several ingots of iron in there. Well, it can't go anywhere because there's lead in this basin. So what do? You flip this lever, it clears out the lead. The molten lead is now trapped in this fluid duct, going into this casting table where it will cast itself into ingots until this is empty. And the iron will quite happily start filling up this casting basin. Repeat this process, and you will end up with as many blocks of iron as you can get multiples of 9 out of, and then it will quite happily sit there and wait for you to pour out the next metal. By flipping this lever, you clean out any excess, and it keeps going. If you happen to have a direct multiple of 9 in your smeltery, you won't even have to flip the lever. It'll finish casting whatever metal it's got going in here, and then it'll quite happily move on to the next one. This means we can sit here and just wait for it to pump out all of our iron, and now it's getting our aluminum. We can put our silver in here now, and our ferrous, because we've got nothing in there that'll alloy with it. And we can put the rest of our tin in. Forgot there's so many different types of tin. But we've got 1 ingot of iron left. We have aluminum that's backed up in the system. Flip this, flip it off, and iron is now going into this casting table and being deposited into this chest. So you still have to babysit a little bit, but this is early game ore doubling for you, especially if you guys happen to find a village where you can rob a whole bunch of smeltery blocks like I did, or if you guys just do some mining, or not even some mining. If you find a good source of gravel, sand, and clay in the early game, 2 stacks of gravel, 2 stacks of sand, and 2 stacks of clay bits will make 2 stacks of bricks, which is enough to make a basic smeltery. Oh, we got some aluminum to clean out of the system here. You can always tell when you're safe to switch the system over, because you'll start to see the next metal fly into here. Now, if you've only got 1 ingot, sometimes you may end up pouring a little bit extra in. You may end up with partials. If that happens, if you end up with a partial and get caught in here, which you can tell by looking at this. If you're looking at the casting table and it says something like 80 out of 144, then all you need to do is just take the servo off of here, put it on that side, pump it out of the table, back into the casting basin. If necessary, you can do the same thing with the casting basin. You can put the servo on there and pump it right back into the smeltery. Eventually, we're going to want to add probably a third drain to the smeltery just to use as an input. So we can put a tank on it, and if we're doing something like making endarium, well, you can make endarium in a smeltery if you have resin and ender. Or I think you can even just toss ender pearls in there. Let's see. We need to clean out the tin. We got silver in the basin, so we're good. Now that the tin has been completely cleaned out, we can start smelting our copper. And all we really need to do now is just wait for it to finish pumping out. So, this, I think, is a good place to end the episode. I'm going to run down and get another bucket of lava to feed this thing. And then, once it is done, I'm probably going to do just a little bit more mining. I'll go ahead and get all of our ores smelted up. And then when we come back, next episode, we're going to upgrade our Tinker's Tool production so that we can make some bigger and badder tools that are going to help us out with some resource gathering in the early game. That is going to be for next episode, though. For right now, this has been Nightdagger with episode 4 of Modded Minecraft Season 5. I hope you guys are enjoying the series so far. Should be picking up here pretty quick and getting into some really interesting stuff, and before long, we're going to be... let's just say that there's a reason why there's an achievement in Rotary Craft that's called Fortune 15. Yes, you heard me right. But that's coming in a later episode once we have the tech to support it. Hope you guys are looking forward to that. I'll catch you later, peeps.